Good afternoon and good morning to those of you joining us from the West Coast. We're glad you're here today for our webinar exploring the benefits of regenerative media filters. We have some great presenters for you today to talk about this. I'm Emily Tipping. I'm the editorial director with Recreation Management Magazine, a publication going to people who manage and direct recreation, sports, fitness, and aquatic facilities. We encourage you to sign up for a free subscription if you have not done that already by going to our website at recmanagement.com. But don't do that yet, because right now we have a fabulous presentation coming to you, and I am going to turn things over to Paul Mellon from Aqua Revival to kick us off. So here you go, Paul.
Great, thanks, Emily. I appreciate that. And so today's presentation is, I'll call it 30 slides deep. We are not going to read slides to you. I've got two great guys along here with me that I'll introduce in just a moment. I might as well introduce them now. Bart Mountjoy with Mountjoy Aquatics out of the DFW area, and also Jared Moore from Indianapolis area, from Buddenbaum and Moore. They'll speak to their areas of reference here momentarily. Like I said, we are not going to read slides to you guys today. You're welcome to ask questions in the attendee chat, and there's a Q&A tab there. Feel free to take a look at the questions that we put out there for you, add some more. We certainly want this to be an interactive experience. We will be holding the questions till the end, and we'll answer them all at the end, unless there's some kind of burning situation. But I'm going to push us on to the next slide, which is the objective slide. And like I said, we're not going to read the slides to you. We put together an objective slide, and that's kind of where we're going to try to focus our attention. But, you know, we're humans. We might get off track. Few of the things that we want to focus on, though, really are the differences between regen and backwashed sand, the advantages, what it means to have those two different pieces of equipment in your pump room, and why you would even consider that. So we were having a discussion earlier behind the scenes, and Jared had an interesting comment about the regen. You want to pick that up, Jared?
Yeah, I got it, Paul. So my name is Jared Buddenbaum Moore, Noblesville, Indiana. I wasn't always a believer in regen. The job that changed my opinion would have been Goshen Middle School. And the scenario there, Laura is the aquatics director at Goshen. The maintenance man wanted nothing to do with the mechanical room of the swimming pools. Brand new facility, 2 Regen filters, and the biggest selling attribute would be our preventative maintenance program being able to go only monthly, and that leaves the owner responsible for checking the water chemistry twice a day and filling up the chlorine feeder and the acid feeder. Everything else gets taken care of in our monthly visits as far as media change, calibrating any probes, things of that nature. So we tried weekly and bi-weekly PMs for a while, and it was just too much babysitting in our opinion. So the regenerative media filters really fit well with a monthly preventative maintenance program. Leaves very little for the operator to take care of.
Great. Bart, you kind of have that same experience with some some kind of difficult pools down in the DFW area. I guess I should back up and say, if we're naming difficult things, we don't want to name names, and we don't necessarily want to talk about any competitors to Aqua Revival. Our competitors make nice water. We just think we do a better job of it. So we may refer to our competitors' colors, but we will not refer to their names. So take it away, Bart.
Okay. Bart Mountjoy Aquatics in Richardson, Texas, which is in Dallas, effectively. We're an interesting company. We're a servicing distributor. So we function as a distributor in a lot of cases, but we're also out in the field. We've got technicians. We do a lot more contractor sales than self-installs. So we're actually out teaching and helping these guys overcome the fear, as it was, of a regenerative media filter. And like Jared said, I came up, in commercial aquatics in the 90s in Kentucky with vacuum DE systems, transitioning over to high rate sand. So I was skeptical of the systems as well from a maintenance standpoint, hey, there's just a lot of stuff going on here. Does it really add more of a burden to the maintenance staff of the facility? Which I guess on some cases could be a good thing if you're a service company, but really you want the customer to have a pleasant experience dealing with their equipment. What we found is, and I'm not going to name names, but what we found is we've gone into a lot of casino, hospitality type environments, large water, typically exceeding their bather loads daily. And in these cases, we've got staff of the hotels that are maybe not what you would call, seasoned aquatics veterans. And we're able to, instruct them fairly quickly, and, showing them once, twice, three times. And they're able to run with these things, I can speak specifically to Paul's Aqua Revivals. The maintenance staffs, they're one thing that's been said to me from people that are both new to regenerative media and people that maybe aren't is, it looks like a lot. There's a lot of things going on, as it were, but really when you break it down and you look at what the system does for you, and then actually your involvement with the filter as far as changing the media out or doing the enzyme soak, it's really pretty simple. And these people have had success year after year with these filters. I'm not belittling what their abilities are, but they're not experts. We're not dealing with AFO types and other things like that. So I guess that's really what turned my head around about it. So.
Okay, great, thanks. So one of the things that you'll note about these filters, particularly these Regen filters like we build, you'll find them in medium, large, and super large pools, stretch 50, Olympic-sized pools, 1 million gallons of water, approaching 1 million gallons of water. We've got our filters in situations where they're in literally 10 million gallons of water. And we're able to make turnover rates that are meeting what the NSF expects for safe water. And that's not just in the United States. Wherever we take these filters, that's what we try to do, is make certain that we are turning the water over, because last thing you need is one of your family members taking in brain-eating amoeba because the water's not being turned over. They're just flocking it at night and hoping that the alum will solve their problem. In the case of backwash sand, though, let's say you put backwash sand on a 1 million gallon pool. Over the course of a year, you will have backwashed more than 1 million gallons. That's hard to believe, but the slide that you're looking at right now talks about an EPA study, And anybody that's managed these types of pools knows that, in fact, you are sending water and heat and chemicals out to the street with these type of filters. We have successfully replaced multiple banks of filters with the Regens, both as renovation. And I know both of these guys, both Mark, Bart, and Jared have example jobs where we've hauled out or sawed into pieces sand bed filters and hauled them out the door and put in Regens, taking them right in without doing any demolition. So that's pretty important. Challenges, let's see here, with backwash filtration.
Something to note on that last page, I think. That is the actual.
About this guy here?
No.
This guy here?
This one here.
This guy here?
You know, that size is comparable, you know, for what a change out would look like. You know, getting rid of 6 sand filters and putting in 1 aqua revival filter that is about the same size as one of the sand filters. So I think that's good information on that slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a 1 million gallon natatorium that's looking to go from 8 25 square foot sand filters that's doing right over 3,000 gallons a minute, and they only need the 60 T to easily exceed their circulation.
Yeah, the big difference became when we got our filter certified at 2 GPM per square foot, and we're going to touch on this in just a moment. So then making the big leap to 3 GPM per square foot, there's still people who aren't comfortable with that, but the more people who get comfortable with it realize we can buy a smaller filter, and that significant your capital expenditure up front, and it improves your operational expense down the road. So I am dying to get to this next slide because we've got some automation in the slide, and we don't have automation in all of our slides, but let's see if it works. Yeah, so there is the, I don't know how to make the number 3 and 4 animation work on that, so I apologize. There should be a line across that slide that talks about, oh, there it goes. One of my helpful folks in the background is helping me with that, I believe. And the next automation is animation is a line that tells you what you can expect to get in sand bed right there. Yep, you're going to get down to 20 to 30 microns. You are not going to be getting mold, pollen, dust, anything in that PM10 category. That's a EPA category. The brain-eating amoeba that I mentioned earlier, I only put that in there because it, ranges in that 7 to 15 range. Aqua Revival is the only filter, the only NSF 50 filter that's certified to remove any amount of crypto from the water. And that's important because if you remove it, it's not ever going to get into somebody's mouth again. We had to prove there's like 9 steps to this test. NSF is really, they are the gold standard for testing, and that's why we use them. Not always the easiest group to work with. We will all admit that. But they are they're friendly people. They're hardworking. They're very intelligent scientists. But, scientists sometimes are difficult to deal with. But when you filter that crypto out, you have to demonstrate that you're not letting it go back out to the pool. UV will unzip the DNA. Ozone will destroy crypto. But when we catch it in the filter, it's not getting back out to the pool again. So we can filter out 67% of the crypto per pass. So per turnover, you're getting more. Now, obviously, more people jump in the pool, more crypto goes with them. But this gives you a sense of, and here's another slide looking at that same information a little bit differently. It's really the same info, but it gives you a sense of, you know, a sand bed, you push that water in down from the top, and it's got to go through that bed and get stopped by the velocity going down and it getting trapped in between sand particles. Whereas with a Regen filter, pressure DE, like an Aqua Revival, you have dirty water come in from the bottom, and then it's got to go through that tortuous path of those septums, those filter tubes, through the media, through the tubes, and out the filter. And it is able to filter a much, much smaller particle. And here's just some project examples. There's some stuff that Bart's group's installed. There's some things that Jared's group has installed. You know, you never know what people are going to be interested in. I think there's some athletic business type applications there. There's some water park type applications there. There's some things, in fact, in that picture, there's indoor agriculture application that we've got. Anything you guys want to talk about on those? I don't want to jump over it. If there's something on that slide that you feel particularly
the bottom right, the second picture over from the bottom right corner. The bottom right is your agricultural. The next one is Carmel High School. They now have 5 Aqua Revivals up and running there. All the pools look great. They couldn't be more happy.
Great. That's great to hear. I know that bottom left one is one of yours, Bart. That's one of the casinos.
That's one of the most challenging bodies of water we've done. If you look at the water that surrounds that center, whatever you want to call it, that's actually like concessions, but that is all one continuous body of water. And the challenge is there going from a large area that's 6 inches deep to a deeper area, back to a shallower area. You know, maintaining the premium circulation was key. But then again, this is a facility that is not, it's in Oklahoma, and it's not really bound by, say, bather load rules. So this facility will get to the point where you could almost walk across it on the heads of people and not get your feet wet. It's very crowded, very heavily used, and you know, rarely ever has any issue that would result in a pool closure or cloudy water or anything like that. Certainly, we can point to the filters as a very core role in why the water is clear all the time.
Yeah, and when that pool was being built, I remember being down there during startup. They were sandblasting the deck at the same time we were doing commissioning, and there was more dust in that air and in that pool at that time as we were commissioning it. And it turned out we had, I think it might have been me. I put the wrong K value in, and we left, and the thing was screaming. And you guys went back out and found that the filter was running somewhere north of 3. It hadn't opened yet. It wasn't like we had caused any problems with the local health commission, but we realized that thing was running at over 3 GPM. The water was crystal clear, and we were like, well, that's good news. I think we were running somewhere around 1.8 to 2.2 on there, intentionally, not intentionally running at 3.2 or something like that. But
no, but
those things happen.
It handled it.
Those things happen.
It handled it very well. It turned very red with all that Oklahoma red dirt, and
it did. It did.
We ended up doing an enzyme soak on it with your enzyme process, and that was 3.5 years ago, and that filter purrs like a kitten to this day.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm going to jump to the next slide. So you can talk about two things primarily, safety and sustainability, right? You want the safest water because you're putting humans in it, or you're putting animals in it, or you're doing something, but you want safe water. And we have the only NSF certified crypto filters. There's other people out there that talk about crypto, but we have demonstrated it. We went to NSF, we got the testing done with NSF because they're the gold standard. But beyond that, let's say between that and sand, and you've got UV on your system. If you have sand and you're going to be backwashing, you're going to be backwashing chemicals and heat to the street, and you're going to be using more electricity to do that because of the geometries of those filters. You're also going to be working your UV harder. You're going to be working your lifeguards harder because the water's simply not as clear. If you're counting on your UV transmittance to get UV to the crypto, to the brain-eating amoebas, to the other things that UV is designed to handle, or ozone, or chlorine, or anything that you're putting in the water to help your sanitization process, cleaner water helps the chemicals work better. And you don't need as much chemicals in order for them to work better. So it's really a multiplicative situation that you find yourselves in. And anybody who's running Regen can tell you that they have demonstrated that those are real world effects.
Paul, we had a contractor, real quick, Paul, on that point. We had a contractor renovate a splash pad last year, put in new UV systems, left the existing sand filters in place, and fought them for the whole summer, trying to make UVT. They could not get enough transmittance through the water to keep the UVs happy, and they just kept shutting down or alarming. This off season, we took the sand filters out, put your filter in, and they have not had a single transmittance. I mean, I think the last time we tested, they were 97, 98% UVT. I mean, it was, whereas last year they were lucky if they could get close to 90. And the only thing that changed was the filters. That was it.
Interesting.
And I will add that those sand filters did have brand new sand in them.
Important, very important. So they weren't channeling.
They were
good.
They were changed out.
We had a job that we did, tore out sand beds, put in regens, went down there to do startup. I had a brand new pair of boots on, and Bart had the floor all wet, ruined my boots. That's not the point of the story, though. The point of the story is the UV that was in that room at the time was saying that it was in spec. Walked into the room, and the city operators, I stopped one of them, and I said, "Hey, UV says it's in spec. It can't possibly be, because we're not floating water through there." And the operator said, "Oh yeah, it does that all the time." That is hugely dangerous, right? If you're counting on UV to get after your crypto, because we know chlorine, crypto will live in chlorinated water for weeks. If you're counting on the UV to handle that crypto 100%, like you would if you've got sand bed filters, that's you're playing with fire a little bit. So let's see here. I'm going to push this one out. That should be you. This slide is really to give you a sense that you can pretty much put the filter below the water level, the filter and the pump. You can put the filter and the pump up above grade, you can put the pump below the water level and the filter above, or you can do, there's a myriad of ways to skin the cat, depending upon if you're doing a reno, if you've got a pump room that is in a high water table area. We can handle all of these. All of these situations have been solved. So don't let anybody tell you we can only put in sand or we can only put in X because of Y. There's some really smart engineers out there who have come up with some really creative solutions to give you the best quality water. And we work with those engineers. We have really good relationships with a number of the international engineers around. They spec our filters all the time. So let's see.
Paul, to that,
Let's move on.
I was going to say real quick, we have one of the big myths, or one of the big things that was going around with Regen was you can't put Regens on a skimmer pool. It's got to be gutters. It's got to be a surge tank. But working together with your team and the engineers, I mean, we have these successfully on skimmered pools. We have them successfully on lift application, on actually challenging lift applications, and all of these beliefs in what the Regen filter cannot handle. We like to come to you with challenges, and I feel like we've succeeded in all those challenging positions.
Yeah, we have some great partners around the country. You and Jared are head and shoulders right up there, top of the pile, as it were. So we're happy to work with you guys. We don't ever quit on anything, and we have solved some interesting dilemmas along the way. This next slide, I am going to read a little bit of this slide because it's a very important slide. So when NSF, and I say NSF because, like I said, they're the gold standard, but it could be IATMO, it could be these other people who use the NSF standard as a testing method. They give you a filtration rating, and it's gallons per minute per square foot of your filter. Whether that is a sand bed and you're saying, okay, 20 gallons a minute per square foot of filter area, I think is generally accepted as the maximum for sand bed. People usually don't go over, say, 15 or so. So to get the allowable flow rate, NSF flow rate, you multiply the filtration rate by the square footage. So let's have a hypothetical 1,000 square foot filter. Filter 1 has a NSF 3 GPM per square foot rating. So you could run 3,000 GPM through that. The NSF tag on the side of the filter will say, oh, this is rated up to 3,000 GPM. Filter 2, it has a NSF 50 rating of 1.6. So multiply those two and you get 1,600 GPM. Filters 3 and 4 have a 2 GPM allowable, GPM per square foot. So you multiply those and those are 2,000. But then if you have manufacturers, for example, like 3 and 4 that say, we're going to limit you to 1.4 GPM per square foot times the number of square feet, 1,800, they're only going to allow you to get 1,400 GPM through that filter. And in this case, let's say you need 2,000 GPM, they're going to make you go to a larger filter. You're going to have to use a larger filter than what their NSF rating would say. It would be 2 times 1,000 would be 2,000 GPM. Why don't they just run it up to the speed limit? And you'll hear all sorts of excuses for that. And they are excuses because if you have a speedometer on your car that says 120 and you need to get your wife to the hospital, you might at some point go 120. You're not going to go necessarily 30 miles an hour. you're going to go as fast as it can go. So either the filter can do that or it can't do that. And it's either a geometry problem that filter has, and it won't run at that actual speed over the long haul. Maybe it could make it through an NSF test, but it wouldn't run over the long haul. Or another possibility is they just want to sell you a bigger filter, and that means more money. So that's why we were so excited to get from 2 GPM to 3 GPM, because we can a better quality water with a smaller filter. And you know, I intend to be building these filters for decades to come, and we're going to continue to push the limits. We're going to continue to push the limits of what we can filter out of the water, how safe we can make the water. We are constantly working on things in the Skunk Works to come up with new ways to improve your spend with us. So if you buy our filter, if you go through, say, Jared or Bart or whomever you go through and say, look, we want the safest filter, it's going to be ours, and it's going to have the longest warranty in the industry, 15 years. So let me get to this guy here, and this is the only one, like I said, certified for crypto. But we wanted to talk about maintenance. So let's compare the maintenance. So side by side, if you are going to, why don't one of you guys talk about this? This is probably more in your wheelhouse then, because you're managing these pools, running these pools.
I have a good example. Yeah, I have a good example, and I'll speak on Carmel High School's behalf again. Their existing pool was built in '98. They soon after that realized they have a problem. The existing pool was pressure sand. They soon realized they had a problem with extended backwashes, because for whatever reason the subdivision on the neighboring road, those with basements, would experience those long backwash cycles in their own basement. So that was a big deciding factor for them on switching to pressure DE. Just the water loss issue. You know, none of those neighbors will ever be ticked off again, you know, due to not having to expel thousands and thousands of gallons of water on a weekly basis.
Wow. Really interesting. We have a pool in Michigan where they had a similar it's a pool that is I don't know if it's co-owned with the YMCA or it's just co-managed, but it's a Y-managed pool that the local high school uses, and they sized the filter so that they would have 3-month-long filter runs. And the reason they did that was water restriction on how much water they could put down the drain. Sand was not on the table. There was the local township said, absolutely, you will not build this facility if you think you're going to put sand in it. And you know, water scarcity is becoming a huge issue. It's been a huge issue for a long time, certainly west of the Mississippi, where they just don't have water to dump down the drain. And many years ago, we used to have like ORP issues. You would end up with materials in solution that were causing problems, and in some cases you could take care of it with a very small amount of flocculant. In other cases, you could take care of it with a very small amount of water loss. So if you say you let out a couple hundred gallons over a week and you replace that with new water, it would solve that issue. And today, with the sophistication of chemical controllers and water chemistry reading devices, you can correct those pretty readily. So that's no longer really even a talking point. But so let me push this one out. All right, so like I said, with Regen, you're gonna drain the filter, you're gonna rinse it, you're gonna vacuum in new media, you're gonna fill it with water, push out the air, and you're gonna restart it. With sand, you're gonna backwash maybe several thousand gallons of water. You're gonna be looking for clean water, channeling. When you see the water run clear, then you've backwashed it sufficiently. When you restart it, you're going to check the delta P and make sure that it went down, that it wasn't a problem. But if it is channeling, you could potentially have a good delta P reading, and you really still have a dirty filter. But you would see that in the water quality. From the standpoint of a Regen, an Aqua Revival, you will, if you're going to clean it. So we use an environmentally friendly cleaner. We use an enzymatic cleaner. So we'll drain it and rinse it, and maybe we'll rinse it a second time. Generally speaking, we'll vacuum in the cleaner and we'll fill it up 70% of the way with water, and we'll tell the controller to run the automated cleaning cycle. We fill it 70% of the way with water because we're going to air scour it. And we're also leaving some room for that enzymatic cleaner is going to foam up a little bit because it's going to eat the oils, the body oils, and the other disgusting things inside that tank that we've filtered out. Excuse me. Once that happens, we're going to then drain it, rinse it a couple times, and then put in media and restart. And we did testing with NSF. Again, I go back to NSF, and we showed they popped our tank loose, pulled the tubes out, pulled the elements out, and they could see all the way through to the other side where we did not have any media hung up in the system. It's an important test because you want to make sure that you got all of the old disgusting stuff out, and you've got, you know, a good runway for, you know, another few months of running. Some of our filters, you can run them almost a year without cleaning them because the bather load's so low. Some of our filters are in athletic business settings where they have to clean them every 3 months. They have bather loads that are just off the charts. But, you know, once they clean them, they're like brand new again. And then sand, you guys are probably pretty familiar with how that works. You pump in some chemicals and get everything soaking, and you're gonna push that out in your backwash cycle.
Hey, Paul, if
Any
we could
comments?
back up. Paul, sorry to cut you off. It's Jared. If
Not
we could
at all, yeah.
back up just a minute to the media change on a pressure DE versus a backwash on a pressure sand. I guess I'll use caramel again. Maybe it's just because we're proud of it, but it would take me twice as long to backwash that existing pool at Carmel High School as it would to do a media change. Maybe even 3 times as long, just to give people an idea of how easy the media change on the pressure DE really is. That's all I have.
Good point. Yeah. Yeah. Good. All right. Let's see here. All right. this is a slide that I put together. I don't know if I showed this to you guys earlier, but this is you want to. I'm not going to read these to you. Buttonbaum Moore has been around a whole long time. They do good work. People like them, and you know, largely the same thing with Mountjoy Aquatics. I mean, they've been around. Bart's been in pool room since he was smoking cigarettes and drinking beer as kids. We were talking about that just before we got on here earlier.
Thanks, Paul.
I don't know if Bart's still on the line or if we caught him in a moment of weakness. I might have caught him in a moment of weakness. That's perfect. Okay, good.
I'm here. Hey, I did want to get back to your cleaning. We moved on a little quicker than I was ready. Not to talk more about me because we don't need to do that. And I don't know if we moved past the slide already or not, but the fact, you keep talking about NSF and you do carry, and it's something that I hit on a lot of times with users, with contractors and with facilities, is not only are you NSF certified with the crypto, you're NSF certified with the 3 gallons a square foot. I mean, both to me are kind of game changing in the industry, but you're also NSF certified for clean in place. And that to me is huge because I came out of the mechanical room and, I was the rat that was tasked with, hey, just make it work. We got to pass code. The pool needs to be open. Whatever that means, whatever the system is. When you look at a Regen versus a sand filter and the cleaning procedure, there's huge differences there. And the fact that, it's commonly known, like, hey, you'll never get all the dirt out of the sand filter, right? I mean, you could backwash it for 3 days and there's still stuff in it. The water loss and everything else. But to Jared's point, the time when you've got a multi-tank system, the time that it takes just to do a quick media change after you've done it a time or two, it really goes fairly quickly. And you put on top of that the enzyme soak, which, again, we have operators doing the enzyme soak from, clubs to park and rec facilities, ISDs, water parks, casinos. I mean, these guys are doing this themselves. The screen and the imageries you put together on your controller to walk them through. I mean, it really makes it very simple. But then when you go on top of that and you look at the differences in the cleaning procedures and the maintenance procedures just in the world of regenerative filters, I've had several operators who have been or who currently operate, let's call them blue filters, that come in and we get in for their instruct and we show them their nice new pretty shiny thing and they start asking all these questions like, okay, hey, why isn't there a jack on the side of this thing to pop the lid off? Hey, why isn't there a porthole we can open to stick our power washer in? Why it doesn't seem like you've made this filter very accommodating to get inside of. And I'll let you speak to that, but we've never opened a filter. We've never had to. Between the cleaning, the draining, and the filling, between the NSF clean in place, the enzyme soak. We've had filters out there running for 5 years in very challenging, very, the bathers are typically covered in about a half a gallon of Crisco when they get in the pool. We're not having to open up these filters. And furthermore, another selling point is, hey, the thing is bumper to bumper warranty for 15 years. So if the filter does need to be opened, we're the ones doing it, which means you're getting on a plane and coming down here and opening this filter. But I mean, it speaks to the fact that you put this thing together with the operator in mind. And I think that's very important because people have to put up with equipment. So you could speak to that a little bit more if you'd like.
Well, Jared can tell you, I've been to Indiana and popped filters open. If there's a question about what's going on inside a filter, we're coming down there to help solve the problem. And so we can get in filters if we need to get in filters. We've had shipping damage on filters before that we need to come down and jack the lids up and get in there and do some work on them. So it is entirely possible. We stand behind what we sell, and we will get involved in making sure it's right. Nobody's perfect. We're not perfect. We're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But we will come down and help figure out what's going on to make things right. Certainly, without a question.
I think that's something huge that sets you apart from any other filter manufacturer on the market right now. If I call Paul, he answers the phone. If he cannot answer, then he's texting me, telling me he'll call me back 5-10 minutes, which he always does. There's not another filter manufacturer on the market with that kind of reputation.
Thanks. I appreciate that. We build a filter that is warranted for 15 years. And I started out 17 years old back in the 80s in a factory building pressure vessels, filtering compressed air and gas. And so I've been around welding pressure vessels for a long, long time. It took me 10 years to get my engineering degree at night, and I worked in a factory doing that in the maintenance department. So I've got a soft spot in my heart for everybody who's in the maintenance field and who's got to take care of things. And I've got, I want to say, 16 or 17 patents, U.S. patents to my name. Some are assigned to my former company. Most are part of the company that I own now. And, our filters are built to last as long as the building that they're put in. And there are tens and tens and tens of thousands of filters out there on the market that we would love to replace with AquaRevival filters. And we think that we're really a good fit for the environment. We make nice water, and we don't use a lot of resources to do that. We use regenerative media, which is truly a sustainable product. It's been around since the earth was made, basically, and it's mined here in the United States, so we can ship it anywhere in the United States. And I've got customers, actually more and more. I keep hearing of this. People, when they dump their filter, they scavenge that media and they use it in their landscaping. So people are really learning to upcycle things. I wasn't a big a knower of the upcycling trend, but there's no liner inside of our filter to fail. You don't have to take our filter down for a week, a year to do maintenance on it, to pull it apart, put it back together. They're going to run a long, long time. Other comments or questions from, we're coming up on the, 10-minute mark to go back to the, I honestly have not looked in this Q&A or attendee chat. The attendee chat has nothing in it right now. You guys are quiet, like if I was in the factory having a meeting with folks. Hey, what questions do you have? But I see there are. Oh, wait a minute. Now I see it. Let's see here. 8765. If you guys are good, we could go to why would I spend more money to put your system in than sand? Well, that's a good question. And answer is that if you are spending more money in a CapEx, capital expenditure situation, you will get that money back in the operational expense savings. Our filters typically have a 2-year or shorter payback period. If you're building a new building, You don't have to build as big of a building. You don't have to build as tall of a building. You can build a smaller pump room, and that will that will allow us to have an overall savings. Your total cost of ownership is lower with our filters. This question number 6 here, sand is so easy, why would I change to something more complex? These guys have touched on this. Bart, you and Jared, I'm going to throw this to you guys.
So when I first looked at one, it does have maybe some more moving parts, but really it's not more complex. And I look at this this is how I train our guys. Every system is accomplishing the same purpose. Maybe not equally, or we wouldn't be here, right? But every system is doing the same. Every system's doing the same thing. And once you learn the process of that system, it's really not that complex. And really, they've been, pressure DE versus vacuum DE, is really not that different. One's happening in a pressure chamber versus an open suction pit with bags. It's the very similar concept. We just tie the chemical controller, the filter, the UV. Everything is integrated with one another to go through the motions safely. So, for example, you're not going and shutting your heater down 5 minutes prior so it can cool off. That's done in the programming now, in the communication between all the components. Same with the chemical system, the UV system. There's not somebody, these things revive themselves once a day typically, and nobody has to be there to do it. It does it all itself. So not only the money that you're saving, this goes back to the last question, the money that you're saving in water, 95% water versus sand, that's huge. Chemicals, 30% savings in chemicals. Again, that's huge. So I have a feeling most people are like myself, and until you try it, you're going to be set in the old ways that you were before. If all I know is sand filters, then I'm going to continue to work with sand filters. But once we open our minds up to a different idea, maybe there is something better, and accept that and learn about it, I think that's what makes people move forward with the technology.
I agree with that, Jared. I mean, I think that in a lot of ways you can argue that the sand backwashing, especially when you get into the automation of it. I mean, I know you're running some vac sand systems, and I mean, if you don't have a little bit of automation on that, you're going to have some pretty big forearms cranking all those valves around. But when you're dealing with pressure sand, if you do have an automated backwash system, you're looking at either automatic, electronic actuators or diaphragm valves or whatever. What I speak to a lot on that is like, hey, if we've got an automated backwash system on our sand filters, nobody wants to let that do its thing when nobody's there to watch it, because if something goes haywire on a linkage system or on a diaphragm system, next thing you know, with the amount of water you're using to backwash those filters, you've drained half the pool, and the guards come in the morning to a half empty pool. With the Regen, with the way that the valving is done for the revive cycle, some people call it something else, but the way the valving is done, you don't really run that risk. The valves are never going to deadhead. You've got safeties and redundance there. There is a lot going on with that system, but relatively there's not. I mean, you have you're lifting the tube sheet and you're switching a couple of valves. The controller controls the VFD. It starts and stops the pump. And sure, there's a lot more bells and whistles we can put on there. And we love bells and whistles. We put them on all these things. These engineers are just in love with, automate everything, cross connect everything. And that's kind of one of the things we specialize in. But it's really it's really not complicated. It's just different. And I think that's what you had said, Jared, was that, you've been a sand guy. You're a sand guy. Sand's what I trust. It goes back to, I like to tell the story the first time I used a Palin test or Palin test instead of a Taylor. I mean, we're in this mechanical room and I'm putting these blister packs and I'm shaking it, and waiting and counting. And I'm like, it gives me a number and I'm like, I don't know. Where's my R004? I got to put some drops in this thing. I don't know. It just goes to your familiarity with it. There's some really good videos on the website of the procedures. But it's with the images on the screen, and the fact that we could go through and actually put the images of the actual equipment there, not the generics, so you can see what V8 is. Here's the picture of it. Oh, there it is right there with the tag that says V8. V2, V whatever, and it really makes it easy to maintain the system. And I also think that long-term maintenance on the system, from a cost standpoint, what does it cost? We were talking about one of your vac sands the other day. What'd you quote them to change that sand out, every, 4 or 5 years?
$30,000.
$30,000 just for new sand. I mean, I've got a customer we quoted, I don't even know if they could they've got a stack set in a mechanical room down the road, and they've asked us for quotes and other companies for quotes. And I mean, you're about going to have to take the drywall off the ceiling to get up high enough to get sand in this upper tank. And I mean, it's a $30,000 or $40,000 sand change. On filters that are no longer made, by the way, and I'm not going to guarantee that those laterals are, so the cost of ownership between the water, the chemicals, the potential downtime, the sand changes, and another thing we talked about the other day, which we did at one of the park and recs in the mid cities here in DFW, they had discovered that this was at their outdoor facility. They've got a competition pool and a lazy river and a couple other bodies of water in there. They've run out of storage. And they were scrambling around. I think at one point they had put up like a temporary shed to put their lane lines in. Well, we took out 6 national filters that were all 25 square footers in a pyramid. Whoever thought that was a good idea, I don't know. But we took those out and put in, on 2 bodies of water, we put in 2 of the mid-sized Aqua Revival filters. All of a sudden, they had enough room in this mechanical room for 2 sets of lane line reels. And by the way, they store half of their furniture there in the off season. They can roll guard chairs in. I told them they could park one of their maintenance trucks in there. I mean, we have cleared up a lot of room. On new construction, you can make the mechanical room smaller, but even in the aftermarket, you gain a lot of storage space, which is one of the things that nobody really thinks about.
I brought one of these controllers in here while these guys were talking. I don't know if you could see that. This is one of our Aqua Revival controllers on the filter. And if I say perform maintenance and drain and rinse, it's going to tell me to do a revive cycle. When I tell it next, it tells me to close the pump throttle valve. There's a photo in that screen right there. Hopefully you can see that. Every one of our systems is photo driven, and we can put custom photos in there of your exact pump room. So if there's a language barrier, you need 2 languages here. We need English and something else. We can subtitle the photo with something else. You tell us what it needs to be, and we'll get it subtitled. So that is a very useful thing in the pump room. You don't have to go looking for a manual. It's photo-driven maintenance screens, walks you right through what you need to do. There's two questions here. I want you guys to answer these for these folks. Margaret asks, what is your preferred or best way to test the water chemistry? Which one of you wants to take that?
Palin test.
Yep, I was going to say the
test.
same. I was going to say the same thing. I'm colorblind, so I've always used a Palin test kit. You know, what I've found with the Taylors is the reagents expire a lot faster. The reagents are sensitive to temperature where they are stored. And then lastly, as people are comparing colors, they often will hold it to a light, hold it to the sun. Nothing's ever consistent, and it would show different things with different lighting behind it.
That's a great question. And then Chris Catone, you asked, can you speak to the cost, please? Those costs are, it would depend on what size body of water you're putting in. So the best thing I can answer on cost is you're going to look at like a 2-year payback on it, and reach out to us. We can put you in touch with one of these guys and get you quoted on a system. Once we know the size body of water you've got, what condition your pumps or drives or the rest of the pump room is, and these guys could take care of you. So
well,
I hope that answered the question.
To that point, Paul, real quick, we're pushing the engineers on what they would consider acceptable for these regenerative filters, where traditionally you've got engineers that won't call out more than 1 gallon a square foot. And we have routinely run yours above 2. And in some cases, I know you've got them running closer to 3. And really that just becomes a factor of head pressure. So it's just making sure that we have the pump there to basically push it through at whatever we want. And the more gallon per square foot we can put into these things, obviously they're giant stainless steel vessels. The more pressure we put on them, the more water we put through them, the more money we can save the customer, and not sacrifice the water quality in doing so. So, Paul, they're telling us to sign off.
We're up
Sorry.
We're just coming up on our 1 hour here, so we're going over time. I don't want to mess you guys up there, but I want to thank all of you for your time. Hopefully we gave you some information, some things you didn't know. We didn't badmouth our competition. We think we do a better job. They make nice water. We just think we do it better. And again, I appreciate all of your time and your patience with us and signing up to do this. Thank Recreation Management Magazine. I'm always excited to see what comes out from them. They've always got the latest cutting edge things for us to learn about. So again, thanks. I'll turn it back over to our hosts and we'll go from there.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I hope that you learned something. I certainly did. This was a great discussion. A lot of really good examples from Bart and from Jared. And join us next time. We'll be back here in a couple of months, actually a month, in September 11th, to talk about gamification of the splash pad. So that should be an interesting discussion too. We hope to see you there. And in the meantime, have a super summer. Take care.
Thank you.